Have you ever stopped to wonder how Amazon gets a package to your door in like just a few hours? Or how Netflix just knows what movie you want to watch next? Well, it's not exactly magic. It's the result of this complex, powerful, and honestly mostly invisible engine running behind the scenes, the Management Information System, or MIS. These systems are the secret sauce, the digital nervous system that powers pretty much every modern organization. Every time you tap your card to pay, track a food delivery on your phone, or see your bank balance update instantly, you're actually watching these systems in action. They are so woven into our daily lives that we barely even notice them. But what are they really? How do they work? Okay, let's dive in and pull back the curtain on the technology that really runs our world. So, at its heart, an information system is just a powerful tool for turning chaos into clarity. It's what lets a business take millions of raw, disconnected facts, a sale here, a customer question there, an item leaving a warehouse, and transform all of it into actionable intelligence. The whole goal is just to drive better decisions, create incredible efficiency, and, ultimately help the organization succeed. So, in this explainer, we're going to build a complete picture of MIS, right from the ground up. We'll kick things off with the essential building blocks of any system. Then we'll explore the different types of systems used at every level of a company. We'll see how they all connect, and finally, we'll look at the big challenges that make them so tricky to get right. All right, so to really get how these systems work their magic, we first need to look under the hood. It turns out that every single information system, whether it's a simple spreadsheet or a giant global banking network, is built from the exact same 5 core components, and they all have to work in perfect harmony. First up, and this is the most important one, are the people. And I don't just mean the IT team. I'm talking about the cashier scanning your items, the manager reviewing a report, you using an app. Next, you have the business processes. Think of these as the official rules of the game. For example, a process is the exact step-by-step way a company approves a vacation request. The system is just there to enforce those rules. Then you have the fuel, the data. Every single click, every swipe, every sale is a raw piece of data. That data lives on the hardware, the physical stuff like servers, scanners, the phone in your hand. And finally, the software is kind of the ghost in the machine. It's the programs and apps that tell the hardware how to turn all that raw data into something useful. And here's the crucial part. If just one of these things fails, if the data's wrong or people aren't trained right, the whole system can fall apart. Okay, so now we know the 5 parts, but how do they come together to serve an actual company? Well, a really fantastic way to visualize this is to picture the organization as a pyramid. Just like a real pyramid, it has different levels, and each level has a very different job to do. And to do that job well, each level needs a very specific kind of information system. Let's start at the very foundation, the operational level. This is where the day-to-day action happens. Think of a cashier at a supermarket. Their world is all about the now, scanning items, processing payments, answering price check on aisle 3. They are performing hundreds of routine, high-volume tasks that absolutely need to be fast, reliable, and perfectly accurate. And this is the domain of the Transaction Processing System, or TPS. This thing is the tireless workhorse of the business. Its main job isn't about giving deep insights. It's about flawlessly capturing every single transaction. Whether it's a POS system logging every item sold or an ATM recording a withdrawal, the TPS creates this rock-solid foundation of data that the rest of the pyramid is built on. Without it, everything else just collapses. So, we've got all this raw data pouring in at the base, but a store manager doesn't need to see every single transaction. So what happens next? Let's move up a level in our pyramid to the tactical layer. This is where middle managers live. They're asking bigger questions, like how are our sales this week compared to last week? Which products are flying off the shelves? Are we on track to meet our quarterly goals? Now, this is where we find 2 key systems. First, the MIS, which takes all that raw TPS data and turns it into useful summary reports. It basically answers the question, what happened? But then there's the Decision Support System, or DSS, and this is where things get really interesting. A DSS helps answer the question, what if? For example, a manager could use a DSS to simulate, what if we increase our marketing budget by 15%? How will that likely impact sales over the next 3 months? It's kind of like a financial crystal ball, letting managers test out strategies digitally before they spend any real money. Okay, so managers are tracking performance and making their quarterly plans. But who's steering the entire ship? Well, that brings us to the very peak of our pyramid, the strategic level. This is the world of senior executives. They aren't thinking about this week's sales.
They're asking, should we expand into a new country? Should we try to acquire our main competitor? What will our market look like in 5 years? And their tool of choice is the Executive Information System, or EIS. What's really key here is the focus on visual dashboards. An EIS rarely shows you raw numbers. Instead, it provides this high-level graphical view of the business's health. The main benefit is clarity at a glance. An executive can just look at a screen and instantly see profitability trends, market share, and major risks, helping them make those massive long-term decisions that define a company's entire future. So this just brilliantly illustrates our pyramid. You can see, at the base, you've got the operational staff using TPS for daily transactions. That data flows up to the tactical level, where middle managers use MIS and DSS for monitoring and analysis, and their insights flow up to the strategic peak, where executives use EIS for big-picture planning. Each layer completely depends on the one below it. So we have this perfect pyramid where information flows up. That's great. But a real company also has different departments, right? Sales, marketing, finance, HR. How do you stop each department from becoming its own isolated data silo, totally unable to talk to the others? Well, that's where a special class of systems, the integrators, comes in. They're basically the connective tissue of the modern business. The most famous integrator is the Enterprise Resource Planning System, or ERP. The huge benefit of an ERP is creating what's called a single source of truth. So when a salesperson enters a new order, that same information is instantly visible to the warehouse, to the accounting department, and to the manufacturing team. This just streamlines everything, eliminates errors, and makes collaboration seamless. It gets everyone on the exact same page. Now, a super common point of confusion is the difference between an ERP and a CRM, or Customer Relationship Management System. This slide lays it out perfectly. The easiest way to think about it is this. ERP systems look inward, managing and optimizing the company's internal resources and processes. CRM systems look outward, managing every single interaction the company has with its customers. And there are other vital integrators too. A supply chain management system, or SCM, tracks a product's entire journey. I mean, for a company like Apple, that's from the minerals in a mine to a factory in China all the way to the Apple store in your city. Then you have knowledge management systems, or KMS, which act like a company's shared brain. They capture expert knowledge and best practices so that crucial information doesn't just walk out the door when a key employee leaves. Okay, we've got our pyramid systems for different levels and our integrators to tie it all together. In theory, this creates a perfectly efficient data-driven organization. So you've got to be asking yourself, if this is all so great, why isn't every company running like a well-oiled machine? The truth is, implementing these systems successfully is one of the single biggest challenges a business can face. Yeah, getting from a great idea on a whiteboard to a fully working system is like climbing a treacherous mountain. It requires a ton of resources, expert planning, and getting everyone to pull in the same direction. And the path is just littered with potential pitfalls that can totally derail the entire project. And in fact, most failures aren't just random bad luck. They can usually be traced back to one of 7 common critical hurdles. First, simply choosing the wrong system. A company gets dazzled by all these features it doesn't need and buys something that doesn't solve its actual problem. Second, lack of integration. They buy a new tool that can't talk to their old systems, which just creates more manual work, not less. Number 3 is a classic, lack of proper planning. But the technical hurdles are just as big. Optimizing data connectivity, just getting different databases to speak the same language can be a total nightmare. Then there's poor quality of information, the garbage in, garbage out problem. If your data's a mess, your expensive new system is useless. Finally, you have the modern giants, the unmanageable growth of data, where companies are just drowning in information they can't process, and of course, the ever-present threat of information security risks. So, as we've seen, the real power isn't in any one piece of software. The magic happens when all these systems, the TPS, the ERP, the CRM, are perfectly integrated. True success comes from creating a seamless flow of information that gives a complete, real-time picture of the entire organization. That coordination, that's the ultimate goal. And that leaves us with a final question for you. Think about the systems you use every day. Does your company's expense software talk to its HR system? Does your university's course registration portal connect smoothly with financial aid? Once you start looking for these pyramids and these integrators, you'll see them everywhere. And you'll start to see what separates the ones that work from the ones that, well, don't.